Welcome, everybody, to the 91 Day Business Spotlight Live. I'm your host, Jonathan Mast, and I've got with me today Casey Keith. Casey and I met through a group that we're both involved in related to some AI software and other things like that. And Casey's just been an invaluable asset, and I appreciate, Casey, you taking the time to join us today. Tell us a little bit about yourself and share with us. You've got a lot of interesting irons in the fire, so to speak. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your businesses and anything you want to share with our audience.
Great. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. A little bit about me. By trade, my background was a network security engineer throughout Silicon Valley. I started originally in North Carolina at IBM. When I retired in 2009, I started some local businesses. I had a small chain of computer shops, a couple photography studios, and I wasn't really happy with the results my website was getting. And so my girlfriend at the time she was from Women of Google, and she eventually went over and worked for Wix. And all I'd ever heard is you can't rank a site on Wix. That was it. But, the girlfriend wanted to do it. So she did it, and I was amazed. She's like, oh, content is king. Content is king. I didn't know what that meant, And so she wrote this article and these did these websites, and it was phenomenal. And so we ended up painting it on the window. We do websites. And anyways, that grew from there.
I love it.
Yeah, it was great. So we've been doing websites ever since. It's been fun.
Well, it's interesting, having been in the digital marketing industry for, now over 20 years. I know, that's the one thing I've heard as well. You can't rank a Wix website. And obviously you proved that's not the case. Can you tell us a little bit more about the content marketing? Obviously, that's something that you and I are both interested in through the AI tools that we utilize and things like that, Casey. But can you tell me a little bit more about that from just a content marketing perspective? Why is it in your mind that content marketing works and that the platform is less important than the content that you're putting out?
Well, the content is so important. You look at the thousands of patents Google has had done and research and everything else. The most primary ones, at least in my case, my industry, all goes back to entities. So I always try to explain this simply. You ask a child, the child knows the difference between an entity and a keyword. Okay. Although we understand that Christmas itself is an entity. If you say, what do you want for Christmas? There's your keyword, right? What do you want for Christmas? A child is always going to answer, I want a blank. That blank is always an entity. You will have no question without fail of what that child wants. You're going to name the brand, the person, the place, or the thing. And guaranteed, you can look them up on Wikipedia. So no doubt. So I pretty much built my articles off that for years, ever since I really kind of had that click moment that the query comes in. How do you answer a query? You're looking for an entity to answer the query.
That's really good. And I think you're right. It's something a lot of us don't, that word entity makes us go, what is that? I don't understand. When in reality, it's a very easy concept to understand. It's just a unique, and not even an entirely unique, but it's not a word that we're often describing in our day-to-day, vernacular, or something we're talking about on a day-to-day basis. So I think that messes up a lot of people. From your experience, Casey, and the tools that you use and the things you do, how would you recommend? We've got a lot of business people that are watching these spotlights. What do they do, or where do they start in trying to figure out how to create content that, again, provides those answers that Google and their audience is looking for, especially from that entity perspective? Any suggestions or ideas there?
Sure. You start with whatever your query is. Enter your own query. Look it up. Find your information that's relevant to you. Google gives you lots of hints. If you scroll down the page, you're going to see words that are highlighted. You're going to have suggested queries. If you're not really sure what is semantically relevant, go to Google image search. Look at the top bar at the top of Google image search, and those are all semantically relevant concepts.
Oh, great.
If it's a if it's the entity that you end up finding that you're looking for, go to Wikipedia. And when you're looking at there, all those highlighted words on that page, because Wikipedia is just all entities. It's more than just nouns. It's not just a person, place, or thing. They're ones we all know. And so building my content, my structure based off what Google already knows has been key for me. I'm not trying to think outside the box, not trying to reinvent the wheel. And I'm not trying to provide a new, I try and provide a new experience. I'm just trying to stack those experiences and use interaction. And if you look at like the lawsuit that came out, even the redacted documents, they make it abundantly clear that Google cannot read human content. They need human interaction. They need clicks, so it's from a local business. Understanding UI is so important. The whole user interaction experience. You want to give them a reason to click for whatever it is, whether it's to print the page, bookmark the page, translate the page, rate the page, like the page, anything to click, even if they never read it. Chances are, some people just click because I want to read this PDF later. They'll never get around to it, but it's still a click.
That's really good advice. And I think, one of the things I love that you're talking about, something that I've tried to remind people of as well, is Google's going to give us that information that we need. They're going to tell us, here's what your audience is looking for. Here's what we think are relevant. And again, we can use that data. I think the struggle that a lot of, I know the business owners that I talk to, is they've been so ingrained with, it's got to be the right keyword. It's got to be the right keyword. It's got to be the right keyword. And especially with Google's new search generative experience, at least from what I'm seeing happening, the keywords are becoming less and less relevant. And like you said, the entities are what's becoming relevant. And if you can demonstrate in that Google search, when you put a document or a topic in, and then you can talk about not just that topic. So let's say website development, but we can also then talk about all of the things around that, like what about domain names, and what about hosting, and what about user experience, and what about conversion? And we could go on and on. When you talk about all of those, Google then positions you as an expert, and they reward you because, like they said, they see that the audience is coming and not just reading one article, but they're reading multiple things or watching multiple videos or whatever the case is. They're engaging with your content at a much deeper level. And like you said, it was a surprise to me. I don't know about others, but when those redacted documents came out in that lawsuit, that Google admitted that they can't analyze necessarily the content like we thought they could. What they're really analyzing is interaction with that content and what the users are doing. And I thought that was just, having been in the industry so long, I know that was kind of mind-blowing to me. I really never imagined that, because they've always talked about the importance of the key words in your content, when the reality is the importance is how your audience is engaging with that content. It's far more important than the actual keywords inside it. So,
right.
No.
I'll people that are in my private group, one of the things they always talk about is these gold nuggets, because I come from the corporate world, and so I look at content differently than the SEO world. So to me, it's always reading patents. I'm a researcher. I have a PhD, so that's normal business for me.
Sure.
And so one of the things I came across, and Google told us what they're looking for years ago. Are you ready for this? It's going to blow everyone's mind. So here's a nugget for today, everybody. Look up Google Heart Framework. They tell you exactly what they want, how they rate. It's been around for years. It's just that they call your website or a web page an app. But if you take out the word app and put in website, they tell you exactly what they want without fail. They even give you the metrics, how they measure it, what they're looking for, how they rate it. It's all user experience, 100%. Can they customize a page? Is there a search at the top that they can find relevant content on the site? And then back to clicks. How often do they return? How long are they there? That's why we added dwell time. That's why we added videos back in the days. You see, we're trying to get people to stay on the website longer. Measurements that you can use. If you're looking for heat maps, one of the best free heat map you can use is Microsoft's Clarity. Go in and watch users move around on the screen with their mouse, and it's great insight. You really get to figure out what users get hung up on and don't get hung up on. So I'm always trying to, as an agency owner, one of the things that's very expensive. I'm from California. I live here on the beach. And so I have to have done best to cut costs. So we have a good friend, Herman, from South Africa. And one of his concepts for SEO is free 99. How can I get this content for free? Where can I get the information? How can I apply it? And it's been my way for forever. Google tells you everything they're looking for. And so I really have always just followed the Google brand, not because I worked there, but because,
it made sense.
It made sense to me.
Yeah.
You look at Google's NLP as an example. They tell you what they're looking for. They tell you where your content should be in that fourth tab where categories exist, and simple stuff.
Well, as a researcher, you certainly bring a unique perspective to things. One of the things I'm going to do is just share here, while you were talking about the heart framework, I pulled that up just for people to see what this is, because I think it is really relevant. And what I notice about the heart framework is it has nothing about keywords anywhere. It talks again about happiness, engagement, adoption, retention, and task success. It's all about user experience. And like you mentioned, that was published almost a decade ago, I believe. I don't know exactly when it came out, but it's been out a long time. And I just think it's very interesting that none of those have to do with keywords, which is what we're so often taught are all that matter when we're talking. So,
when you go into Google's NLP and you'll see, let me pull it up so I'm getting the right term here. I have MS, so I forget words sometimes.
I'm just old, so I forget words all the time. You're good.
If you go into Google's NLP and pulling up on right here, under sentiment, you'll notice it doesn't matter what you're talking about. You need to have a positive sentiment. Human beings, they've studied human behavior. So they only want people that are happy. It's that dopamine. That's what social media studied. You see, so it doesn't matter if you're talking about depressing, you need to have some positive spin on it, and they're looking for that. They don't want that negativity at all. They're not going to pick it up because they know humans aren't going to engage at that point. They're done. They're depressed. Move on.
That's so interesting. That's something I've never really thought of, but you're absolutely right, and it fits in with their NLP, like you mentioned. So that's really, really keenly interesting.
Yeah, happiness.
Well, Casey, if people are out here listening and wondering, how do they get more of your knowledge? How do they connect with you? I know you mentioned you're not taking on any new clients, so you're in a unique position there. But are there ways for people to connect with you to be able to be able to just again learn from the things that you're doing? I know I've learned a lot from all the things that you've shared in some of the groups that we're part of. But is there any way for people to connect with you, or are they better off just to try to find you online? What's your recommendation, Casey?
Well, shameless plug here. I do have mastercoursereviews.com. If you just look up treasure map with my name, Casey, you'll find the website. I go into a lot of things. I already have 20-something videos on there. I have over 20 more left. I cover just about everything I do as an agency to have success. I give my SOPs out, my personal prompt engineering, everything that I've had success with. We have some friends that are in the group that I've worked and trained with and developed that are also a part of it, showing off their specialties, explaining things. I'm not a schema professional. I haven't really had time to, I can write schema, but I'd rather really let people that are professional and that's their main thing to work with speak on those. And so I'm allowing that. But that's what I'm doing, and I'm really enjoying it. I've met some fantastic people.
Well, and I want to encourage you, if you're watching this either live or on the replay and you want to connect and learn more, Casey is just a wealth of knowledge, and he's very generous in sharing it. And Casey, I want to thank you for that. You've taught me a lot about some of the different tools that we utilize and ways to think in a different way. One of the things I love is with your focus on research, you bring an interesting perspective to things, and there's always data behind it. And I really appreciate that, especially as a marketer, because so often there isn't data behind it. It's somebody's opinion and there's zero data behind it when you hear it. So I really do value that from you, and thank you very much.
Well, you're very welcome. I love to research, and I as a researcher, I need facts. I have to be able to cite other facts. Ooh, can I share one more secret with you?
Oh, sure. Please do.
Look up Stanford Web Credibility Project.
I'm doing that
And you're going to
now.
discover BJ Fogg, an old colleague and professor of mine, who created Google's EEAT. And that is
Oh, wow.
developed from the Stanford Web Credibility Project. And you'll notice there's 10 rules there. And all of those are slowly being applied.
I love it. I'm going to definitely look that up and probably create a video about that today, because that is interesting. That's super, super interesting. Very good
And if you want,
information.
I'll send you a direct link for you, especially of the visuals and stuff that explain it.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Casey. I appreciate that. That would be amazing.
Of
So,
course.
well, again, thank you for your time. Everyone, thanks for watching. And if you're interested in trying to figure out how you can promote what you're doing, we're doing these for 91 days. We're into week number 4 already. We've got over half of the sessions booked out of the 130 we're going to do, but we would love to hear from you. If you have a business, we'd love to spotlight you for 15 minutes live as well. Casey, thanks so much. So appreciate you and all that you do in the groups we're part of, the knowledge you share. You're truly a treasure. Thank you so much.